Hey traders, wanted to go over a trade that I took today in DE, John Deere and Company, New York Stock Exchange. Today is February 28th, 2012. Let's start by taking a look at the overall picture of DE on the 25-minute chart. Now the market today was a little sloppy. It didn't really go anywhere until it broke down later in the afternoon and failed to move higher because we are at an area of resistance. Many felt as though prices were just going to break out and continue higher, and prices always find a way to trap somebody before it does what it really is supposed to do. Now, what I want to really go over is being careful of when prices are trading in a range and some signs that you can use to avoid getting caught in the sideways sloppy trading action. Now, were there many opportunities today that were quality plays that you could have found in gaps or stocks that were trading on their own page today, whether bearishly or bullishly? Absolutely. However, with my strategy, I try to trade under 4 stocks. Most days I'm only looking at 2 stocks because I want to be laser sharp focused on what I'm looking for and what I want to see out of the stock that I'm trading. To make it much simpler, it's just like having a wife. You want to know that stock inside out, how it feels, how it moves, when it's going to trap you, and how it feels, so you can almost sense many times what it's going to do. Now, I don't really want a stock that's an acquaintance that I really don't understand how it truly behaves, and I'm only trading it based on price pattern that I recognize in my strategy, but I don't really understand its behavior. Now, of course, many people do that every day. They scan and search for a clean pattern to trade, and there is absolutely nothing wrong with that as long as you have a method that you can count on and you have tested it and it has proven results and you are profitable. There is nothing wrong with whatever strategy you use. But the thing for me, unfortunately, I am better at focusing laser sharp on 1 or 2 instruments or stocks or futures, whatever it may be, to allow me to focus on what I need and my analysis to make sure I am following my plan to the best of my ability. Now, as you can see, DE moved into resistance here in this area. Now, what happened is, here's a dynamic bar that occurred. We began trading in a bearish range. Now, for me, after the second static bar, I usually stop trying to play this instrument until it either breaks out and pulls back or breaks lower and creates a sell setup for me to take advantage of. Because what this usually possibly signifies is that prices could possibly end up in a range and start to chop you around. Now, that's a good signal to use because many people say, well, you never know you're in a range until you start losing money. Well, there's always some way that if you continuously check your trades and test them to give you some indication, to give you an edge on how prices may be moving. Now, let's take a look at the range that occurred. Here is the top of the range. Here is the bottom of the range. Right here, what occurred is a smaller range, as you can see here, denoted by this line here and this line here, and the larger range up here and up here. Now, as you can see, prices bounced around in this area. So the reason why I'm talking about ranges today is prices either move up, down, or sideways. And you have to understand, if you have a strategy, let's say just a buy setup, it does not perform necessarily the same when prices are trading in a range versus in a uptrend or downtrend. So if you expect it to behave the same and you're taking the trade just based on price pattern alone, there's going to be a lot of times where this trade is going to stop you out, and you won't understand why it's stopping you out because you believe that you are buying the same thing over and over again, but the market structure itself is very different. Now, here is what made me excited about taking this trade in DE. Although the market was choppy and sloppy for me, is this higher low that occurred within this range, than the larger part of the range. When prices broke down and bounced from the bottom of the larger range and tried to move lower, as you can see, it pivoted and tried to move lower and failed to get back to the bottom of the range. This is a high probability that prices can move back to the top. Now, once prices did that, they created an area of support. As you can see with my arrows here, this is where my entry was. Now let's take a look at the 5-minute chart so you can see what I was seeing. Now here's a look at the 5-minute chart. Now, as I showed you on the 25-minute chart, the larger range here is notated with the larger range. Then we had the smaller range that I was showing you, where prices began to bounce around inside of this range. Now, there are opportunities inside of a range if price action allows for it and there's room to move. Unfortunately, a lot of times ranges become very sloppy and choppy. Now, someone could be trying to trade here, trade here, trade here, trade here, trade here, trade here. There was just so many opportunities that looked like good possibilities. However, these plays are tough plays if you don't have the right strategy or system for them. And this is the important thing that I was talking about, where you got to understand, if you are trading in a range, your buy setup is no longer the same as if you were taking a buy setup in an uptrend or downtrend. And you have to identify this, or you'll get chopped up in this and feel as though something is wrong with your strategy or your plan, and you can't see it. You get frustrated and do things you shouldn't do. Now, the key thing for me is, what got me excited about this trade is this wide range bar from the top of the range back to an area of support on the 5-minute, which also was an area of support on the 25-minute, which was the higher low that I showed you previously on that chart. So now we have two time frames that are in alignment with each other. So we have not just the 5-minute traders seeing the same thing, we got the 25-minute traders seeing the same thing and putting the odds in our favor. The other good thing that I really liked about the trade is that the bears used everything they had with one giant bar, but the giant bar came right to support. Many people, when they see this bar, they immediately start shorting because they think prices are just going to move back down to the next reference point. However, you got to be patient before you do that. Here is the signal bar that initiated the buying opportunity. Now, once I got this signal bar, what I did was move to a lower time frame, which is my 1-minute chart, to try and find a low risk entry in order to enter this trade based on my risk tolerance. Now, the thing that I really like to do, I try my best. There's some times where prices may move without you, there's a rapidly moving market and it doesn't allow for it. However, I try my best to try and buy where I'm actually going to put my stop. This is where I really try to get in on most of my trades. Now, so let's take a quick look at it. We got in the trade, we moved back to the next reference point, which is this pivot here area here. Prices did eventually move higher. However, I was comfortable taking my profits here because this breaking of the range was not as potent as I would like. There were a lot of sellers, a lot of supply in this area to push prices down this rapidly. So I was cautious and I was comfortable taking my profits here, and that was the end of the trade. Now, I hope you've learned something about trading inside of ranges and knowing that you have to account for them in your trading strategy and your plan, that this is a different market structure from when prices are trading in an uptrend or when prices are actually trading in a downtrend, so that you can assess your strategy appropriately and not think that it's not working because you're trying to do something in a market environment that your plan or strategy has not accounted for. Thank you for watching. I hope this was of benefit to you. And remember, only you can find the discipline within.